We want to take you back now to our other top story, the latest on the war in the Middle East. Aid into Gaza is just one issue on the agenda for a top White House advisor visiting Israel. Jake Sullivan is also expected to raise concerns about how Israel is conducting the war. Sullivan's arrival today follows criticism from the U.S. President Joe Biden that Israel is losing international support because of indiscriminate bombing in Gaza. Let's go to our Richard Madden in Washington on this story. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Hannah.
Hey, well, Sullivan's meeting with the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and other top officials. What are you hearing about this?
Yeah, Hannah, according to reports in Tel Aviv, those high-level talks have been underway for a few hours now, and Israel's defense minister reportedly said to him at the start its war against Hamas will last several more months, saying it'll take that long to destroy the infrastructure built up by Hamas, both above and underground. Now, from the White House perspective, officials say National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will, quote, will hold extremely serious conversations with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet, and also look for ways to smooth over this growing public rift that's emerged between these two staunch allies over Israel's approach to the war. Now, you'll recall over the past few days, President Joe Biden has openly criticized, as you noted, what he called Israel's indiscriminate bombing in Gaza. He even warned Netanyahu that Israel is losing global support with its military campaign as the number of people there killed continue to rise. So that's the background for this visit, and Sullivan will reiterate those concerns and then prioritize efforts to free those 8 American hostages still being held by Hamas. But he's also expected to push Israel's military to be more precise in their war operations to avoid more civilian casualties. Now, moments ago, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller was asked about that Israeli government timeline, that its war against Hamas will take several more months. Take a listen to his response.
I am not going to talk about what the Israeli government may or may not have said in that meeting. I will let the NSC speak to it. I will say to the broader question that we have engaged in conversations with them about the duration of this conflict. We don't want to see it go on any longer than is necessary. We want Israel to be able to accomplish its legitimate military aims, which is to ensure that the attacks of October 7th can never be repeated.
So President Biden has said repeatedly he supports a two-state solution, but Netanyahu does not. So Jake Sullivan will likely press Israel how it sees an endgame and what a future for Palestinians will look like after the war.
It's such a precarious time, not only between the relations between a White House and the Israeli government. We're also seeing divisions over the war within the Biden administration itself. It's almost like here in Canada, too. Tell us about what you're seeing in Washington.
Yeah, there was an unusual scene outside the White House last night. Dozens of political staffers protesting outside their own workplace, including a former State Department official who quit last month over the administration's approach to the war. Take a listen.
The American people and respected institutions like the United Nations are pleading for a ceasefire, but this administration has yet to listen.
Now, what you heard Josh Paul say is echoed by many progressive Democrats, not just staffers, but members of Congress in key swing states. They're demanding Biden push harder for a ceasefire. So, and of course, President Biden does not support that. But there could be domestic politics at play here because this pressure from within may explain why we're seeing Biden becoming more vocal in his criticism against Israel's government.
Richard Madden, thank you so much.
You bet.